This is a video that I actually avoided clicking on for a long time. This Crowder talks to Gen Z girls, because my expectations were it was just going to be another display of low IQ, feminist, liberal, leftist mind rot. You know what I'm talking about, especially if if you're familiar with the type of girls that go on Fresh and Fit and the epidemic of political psychopathology that's been preying on women, hijacking their agreeableness and trait openness. If you've studied psychology, you know what I'm talking about. But this video surprised me because this is in Dallas, I believe, or it's very close to Dallas. And so these women, on average, you'd expect to be somewhat based. And in some ways they are. And yet the mental discombobulation that you see here is still shocking. And so as a member of Gen Z, in fact, the only male member of Gen Z that I know about that is openly doing battle with the Matrix, the forces of darkness, who also enjoys analyzing political ideology and psychology in high resolution, I want to share with you guys what I noticed here. So Crowder approaches these girls, he starts asking them questions, and I'll share my thoughts. Let's get into it.
So is this just your dress up just because it's your birthday?
Yes. We just came back from the French room.
We went to high tea,
High tea.
In the French room.
What's
in
that?
the Adolfo Hotel.
If you look at me, I clearly don't know anything about high tea.
It's just a tea party.
Little
They give
sandwiches.
you biscuits and sandwiches.
Oh,
and
it's,
tea.
it's one of those things where they charge you more for smaller portions.
Yes.
Yeah.
All of them, yes! Crowder's comments on this are very based, by the way.
The kind of thing that only women like, and they drag them into.
It's the aesthetic.
Yeah.
Yes, it's like brunch on steroids, where guys like, why am I paying $25 for eggs?
Exactly.
And the women think it's cute. All right, so how old are you today?
27.
27. All right, you all around the same age group?
29, yeah. 26.
26? Okay. All right, so a close cluster there. First,
By the way, I think it's cute. I think it's fine that women go out and spend, $25 on eggs. I think that's kind of adorable. If that makes them happy, so be it. Men have been putting up with this for thousands of years. In fact, we build civilization so that women can do things like this. So I'm not going to harp on them for that. That's fine.
question, are you planning on voting in this election coming up?
Yes, I'm registered to vote.
Okay.
Yes.
So I've only seen a couple minutes of this, and I still don't know how they're going to vote. I would assume that all of them, literally just because they're women, are going to be voting for Biden, because the psychological operations to hijack the feminine personality have been so incredibly successful from the standpoint of hijacking their psyches, that the only women that have escaped that are ones with strong fathers or a strong and competent masculine influence in their lives.
All right, are you paying attention to the election? Is it at the front of your mind?
Yeah, I've seen a lot of it on the
The
media.
answer is yes. So let's hear exactly what aspects are at the front of her mind. Because I can already tell you, a woman says, yes, I've been thinking about it. That means she's been neurotically obsessing over how Donald Trump, as a alpha male masculine billionaire, is the embodiment of objective reality that feminists find intolerable and oppressive.
Do you have something that's at the front of your mind as far as this election? Like, what's most pressing? Like, what do you think is at stake?
Really, I don't know what.
Even the framing of the question is masculine and coherent. What is at stake? Implying that there is something to lose, something to be gained. Already that takes the consideration outside the domain of feminine perspective.
What's at stake, but I would like to be a homeowner.
Okay.
Yeah, and I feel like
And her
it's
answer
not.
confirms that. I don't know what's at stake. Are you kidding me? They're literally trying to imprison their opposition. They worship at the altar of anti-reality in every opportunity they have.
A great time.
It's not the best.
I don't feel like I have the same opportunities my parents do, so I'm like, oh, I would love to be a homeowner.
We've heard that.
Yeah.
What do you think, Isai?
From what I heard, because I work in the private airline industry, and so for corporate aviation, I heard if a certain party gets elected, they're going to be taxing on corporate jets, and so I would be out of business.
Right.
So
I wonder which party that is. More taxes?
that's one of my concerns.
How much you want to bet Al Gore and John Kerry still take private jets?
I don't know.
It only affects some people.
Yeah. So
I don't know what those names are, and that would require consideration and objective rationality. Moving on, I don't think about those things.
Like corporate, like chartered?
I just listen to Taylor Swift when she tells me she's saving the environment. Kim Kardashian's my role model.
it would affect me.
What an incredible time to be alive, guys, where we have, in my generation, Gen Z, such a deviation in terms of competence and ability to think, and then just total rejection of reality and hatred for, like, coherence. You have people on X posting pictures of, let's say, posting pictures of a guy in great shape holding an American flag. He's got abs, he's got huge muscles, quintessentially attractive for your average woman. And then on the other side, they have a picture of a man in a dress. And they say, I wonder who they're voting for. And you go to the comments, and it's just a bunch of liberals losing their mind. Oh my gosh, but the guy, he must be insecure. That's why he has big muscles. And this guy in the dress, I mean, he's really brave. So if you think about it, the guy in the dress is more brave and secure than the man who loves America. The point is, you have people bending over backwards to say the opposite of the truth. What an interesting time to exist, where you have people thinking the opposite of the truth, calling themselves good people while being evil.
The gender gap too. Since I work
Just coming out of nowhere, and then the gender gap too. Article pressed.
Condone it.
That's right.
and
That's
that too,
perfectly correct.
the gender gap too. Since I work remote, I want to apply as like Matthew King instead of Maddie King, because I'm like, maybe I get paid more as a man.
And adding on top of
That's
that,
not a thing. I'll go back. As someone who employs
Surreal that you still have women believing that. The gender wage gap has actually been debunked. It's just propaganda. It's fake information. It is not statistically backed by anything. It is completely illegal to pay women less. Women on average tend to make different choices than men, going into fields that pay less on average, but that doesn't mean that they're being discriminated against. So it's just classic anti-intellectualism and a rejection of the mechanisms that would reveal a high-resolution understanding in truth, like reason and rationality and logic.
30 people, it's not a thing.
No.
If I could get away with it, then I would never hire a guy again. If I could pay women less, yeah.
Okay.
adding on top of that, I feel like diversity is being
And then look at her response.
Guy again. If I could go back. As someone who employs 30 people, it's not a thing.
No.
If I could get away with it, then I would never hire a guy again. If I could pay women
So she's just like, oh, really? Oh, I guess I'm just sad and I've been thinking for a long time. It's just completely false. Oh, okay.
less, yeah.
Okay.
That should be a big deal to you, that you've been thinking and repeating something that is literally untrue.
And on top of that, I feel like diversity is
This
being
is how women are different than men. Pay attention.
prioritized over experience, because in the aviation industry, that's what
Wait, bro. Oh my gosh, this is so base.
that I feel like diversity is being prioritized over experience, because in the aviation industry, that's what they're doing at a lot of airlines. They're hiring for diversity purposes instead of experience.
Instead of competence, yes.
You're having a lot of these issues with, they're saying the Boeing manufacturing is terrible quality control. So, but a lot of it is because of the new hires, the new pilots that don't have as much experience, but they're hired because of the diversity quota.
Notice how both these other women, though, are uncomfortable with the fact that she's making sense and using logic and rationality, because they know that the coherent conclusion from what she just said is that you should vote for Trump, because the left is responsible for those atrocities.
Yeah, and the reason I say it is because I don't want you to buy into another lie that women make 77 cents on the dollar. It's not.
Oh, really?
No, it's not
true.
It's not true at all.
Okay, I'm gonna be like, okay, where's my raise?
Yeah. No.
Why am I not being paid more?
But a lot of women do believe that.
Oh, okay.
And at my company,
That's
as a matter of
good
fact,
to hear.
it really just comes down to who's right for the position. But the idea that men are going out and
that's awesome
hiring
news.
men, like, why would I hire a man if I could pay a woman less? I could just cut the costs of my business by, 23%.
Yes.
So don't buy into that.
Okay, good.
And obviously, you all seem to agree on the idea that maybe the education system has failed you on the promise.
Yes.
And the DEI kind of diversity situation has made it tough to get a job. So with all that being said, who do you think is best, or at this point in time, how do you think it goes? Do you think there's...
He's trying to phrase it emotionally so that they give him the correct answer, because he knows that women will say the opposite of the truth.
one person who's better than the other to kind of rectify this or provide you
If
with...
you were to ask a man this question, it is a very simple question. You just ask him straight up, so who's better given these objective facts, and then just gives you the correct answer. If he's not like a liberal communist or whatever. But women, you can't operate that way.
More opportunity, the opportunities that you said maybe your parents had that you feel you didn't.
Anyone?
I personally
It's so hard to answer.
don't feel like there is anyone on the top of my head that I see fit more than the
There's no one on the top of my head that opposes diversity hires.
other.
You want a third option?
Yeah, I just honestly, like, we saw what Trump America was like, and although the economy was booming, like, Biden's America has been very hard. I got laid off. I was doing accounting at a
What? We saw that in Trump's America, everything was great and the economy was good and the problems that I just complained about didn't exist. But in Biden's America, everything was worse. So it's really hard for me to decide which one's the right choice. This is how women's brains work. You're seeing it in front of you.
construction company, and I was making great money, and it pushed me back into school because all
Well, you just said the economy was booming under Trump. We've seen Biden's America.
He's gonna be like, okay, wait a second. So you just said everything was great under Trump and things were not good under Biden, and you don't know who to vote for.
But no one's more fit than the other. Seems like you're saying
There was a lot of issues with Trump too. You know, just all the hatred and racism that comes with it that people associate.
The masculine order, the competence, the coherent frameworks, it's so discriminatory. It discriminates between better and worse, more competent and less competent. It's so oppressive.
with Trump and all the protests that happened, the violence. So all
You're seeing them admit that the psychological operations work on them.
of that is what made me feel very sad to see people breaking into Targets, breaking into Walmarts to
That's their fault then. What? Bro, Trump literally is the candidate of law and order. The Republican Party was not the party doing the looting. I mean, Crowder's going to correct them, but you're seeing shown in front of you how little they actually care about reality.
make like their voices known that they're minorities or they're not getting their voices.
Okay, don't make the mistake of thinking to yourself, guys, that this is just the average person responding to things. No, this is subpar. This is like a child. These failures are childlike. Not realizing that it was BLM, that it was the left that was doing the looting and breaking into Targets, etc. And again, if it was the left who was doing that, then who should they vote for to end that? Objective frameworks are oppressive to liberal women.
Heard a lot of that I found very disturbing, and I don't want to see that happen again.
Whose fault was that? Oh, it was the people who insist on order, that the criminals are committing crime.
Well, how is that Trump's doing? People breaking into Target or Walgreens in San Francisco?
Well, it was a lot of it was him like persuading people to do something about what they're unhappy about and like breaking into the White House and things like that.
What? They don't live in reality. They just make things up because look, you don't realize how low of a priority reality is to liberal women. I'm serious. I'm being completely serious. It's not even a priority. Objective reality is not a priority to liberal women because reality in its objective frameworks is discriminatory, is oppressive. It holds them accountable, insists on an individual identity. That's all intolerable to them.
It just seemed like it fueled people to do something just out of the ordinary.
Yeah.
Masculine order and competence fuels people to reject it. No, that's you rejecting it like you're doing right now.
But it seems like all these, you're talking about, for example, Black Lives Matter, the Summer of Love,
Yes,
and now you're seeing it with Palestine, on
Yes.
campus, that those were people in opposition to what Trump stands for. It seems like, really, if you were to take that and segment it out and say, okay, these were radical leftists who were committing acts of violence.
Yes.
But then go back to what you said, the economy was booming, I got laid
You
off.
just acknowledge. Yes, that's true. Yeah, I can't think.
It seems like one of those things where maybe it's
There was
personality
like
versus
pros and
results.
cons. It was pros
It's like the pros and cons. The radical leftists were doing Trump's bidding. I can't vote for Trump.
and cons, I think, to both.
Yeah.
But I do think that
No, there's no equivalency. See, this is the equivalency of the ineffective emotional female mind. Well, both sides are good. Those sides aren't bad. I can't tell between better and worse because better and worse mandates logic, reason, and rationality. It mandates a correct answer, a wrong answer. It reminds you that the world is objective and judges you and holds you accountable. I genuinely believe that women do not want to be held accountable by reality. And this is a part of their DNA. This is a part of their biology.
the economy was better under Trump, for sure.
Right.
Definitely.
That seems to be an overarching theme today, aside from a few people.
Has the theme been like women's rights, like to their autonomy at all, or not really? It's kind of like a last
There have
year's
been a
thing.
few people. Kind of last year's thing.
Last
Yeah.
year's.
I know
What's
Biden's
the
hoping
it
it
topic
doesn't
right now?
Not the influence.
Women have equal rights, so this girl's mentally broken.
Oh my gosh, my life is so hard. I just went to high tea and spent $30 on 2 tiny little sandwiches. Women's rights are difficult. My life is so hard. I'm being oppressed.
Liberal women can't think because they're told that objective frameworks are discriminatory, that accountability is unacceptable.
We'll say it's the economy and immigration.
Economy, yep.
The economy
Yeah,
and immigration seems
We're
to
in
be.
Texas, yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like the pharmaceutical industry wants us to be sick, wants us to have cancer, wants us to be on medication because it's a billion-dollar industry. So the fact that we could grow our own food and be organic, it's not something that I feel like the country focuses on or wants to push.
When left alone by themselves, women can be based, but they can't reach the correct conclusion.
They were pushing for the vaccine. I was like, "There's-
forcing
I'm not
you
getting
to
that.
do it.
I'm not getting that.
I did it. I don't
Yeah.
care.
You did it?
Yeah.
All right. So you didn't. You did. Another broken promise. You
Yeah.
said someone who was vaccinated gave you COVID.
Yes.
Remember, if you get the
Yes.
vaccine, you can't get it, or at the very least, you can't
Yeah.
transmit it.
Yeah.
That's like, well,
Leftists aren't actually running these simulations in their head. They're not interested in if what they were told makes sense or is logical. Because what they were told is what they had to believe in order to be good people. That's a feature of Marxism, by the way.
you'll transmit it and you can get it, but it won't be as severe. Like, well, it may be severe, but you won't be in a hospital and a death.
See, they're all agreeing with this, but they're like, oh, but I'm still voting for the left, even though the left is lying to them.
Another broken promise.
And I hear a lot of like issues with the vaccine are coming up, right?
Yes, with women and fertility.
Oh my gosh.
Things like that. So
Bates.
it makes you wonder if it had anything to do with population control, because China's really big on that.
Right.
About the vaccine.
But the problem is, you mentioned
Wait,
China.
what did that girl say?
Population control, because China's really big on that.
Right.
About the vaccine.
I think she said, I want to avoid. What did she say?
If it had anything to do with population control, because China's really big on that.
Right.
About the vaccine.
But the problem is, you mentioned China.
Bro. Oh, I mean, I know we were lied to, but I just want to avoid talking about the fact we were lied to because it would lead to a conclusion that isn't behooving our degenerate denials of reality.
Well, come on, of the two candidates, who do you think is going to be tougher on China?
Trump,
Yeah,
for
I
sure.
think it's. I mean, it's practically a catchphrase.
Yeah.
Right?
Objective reality. Oh, we can't admit objective reality. Admit it. Admit it. Admit it. Okay, fine. Trump is objective reality. Yeah, you're right. Oh my God, yeah. I've just been denying reality. This is the way women operate.
It's China all the time. So you still don't know how you're going to vote, though, because Trump's a dick.
Yeah.
But everything you say,
Trump's an alpha male billionaire who does everything right and makes us stronger, engages in masculine frameworks and objective reality, but I can't vote for him because NPC just malfunctions.
China, the vaccine,
Yeah.
the rollout, all these broken
It's
promises.
a hard election for sure. All of the ones, I think this is one of the more important ones, especially since we're declining so fast.
Then who are you voting for?
And I think that our country has been seen as weak since Biden has been in office, which is very concerning.
Literally acknowledging only one correct answer exists.
So you're not going to vote for Biden, it sounds like,
No, heck no.
but you're reticent to pull that lever.
We'll see. We'll see what happens.
I think
We'll see. We'll see. She literally can't acknowledge the objective answer.
you know how you're going to vote. You just have to keep. You have to go. I don't know.
It's hard.
Yeah.
This is like when a woman discovers that her husband, who is making $10 million a year and is universally desired by all women, is cheating on her. She's like, well, I can leave him, but I mean, that would be a mistake because literally everyone wants him. And I mean, he'll replace me in 3.5 seconds. So, I mean, I think I'll just, okay, yeah, you're right. I'll just, okay. But a lot of women's resentment is actually to the point where they would leave the guy making $10 million a year, get replaced, have their life ruined, be 35, no kids, single childless, blaming men for all their mistakes, which, if you're keeping track, is the metaphorical equivalent to not voting for Trump.
How about yourself?
Definitely have to vote for Trump because my job relies on it.
Right.
So
You vote for it.
I voted for Biden.
You voted for Biden. Okay. Do you think you'll do that again?
I'm not sure.
Okay.
She was sure before this conversation, but after hearing that other women can reach a different conclusion, she's thinking to herself, oh, maybe I can still be a good person and still go to high tea, even if I vote for the other way around.
Sounds like because there's been a lot of shifting we've noticed today, where a lot of people said, I voted for Biden. I'm not going to do that again. I've heard that a lot today.
Guys, if you're wondering why women are like this, it's because the ideology of Marxism has hijacked proclivities, meaning the factory settings of women, in order to tell them, you're not inclusive, you're not compassionate, you're not considerate if you vote for an alpha male who is objectively correct about everything. Because those objective frameworks, that's oppression.
the two options were
We're just
not good.
the
so
best.
yeah, so we didn't want to vote. That's one of my reasons is because I didn't know which one to vote for. They all seemed
It
like
was so hard to tell which one I should vote for. I mean, they were just completely, they had totally different positions, but it was hard to know. I mean, that would require thinking and rationality. This is the reason why women need masculine influences in their lives.
they were terrible choices. So I didn't have.
Would you
Yeah.
say a reason maybe that you're voting for Trump this
Well,
time?
if they asked
no, you're
those random
undecided.
guys that are walking by who you're voting for, they could give rational reasons like that. There's a difference. There's a fundamental difference psychologically between men and women, and that fact is not acknowledged by a lot of people. People don't like to acknowledge that, but men and women, if you study psychology, are not They're not identical. There are biological reasons for this. I know this is preaching to the choir if you're listening on the right, but even so, maybe there's some of you that don't realize this. You think the differences between men and women genetically end with their physical appearance? Obviously not. There are measurable psychological differences on average between men and women that we can isolate as nature instead of nurture. There's some very interesting ways you can measure that scientifically, but it's been done, and there are differences between men and women. Let me know in the comments if you don't understand that or if you have questions.
Like, you lived under a term of Trump, and for any of the negatives, you see the difference economically, and now you have Biden. Like, do you think that's something that maybe hasn't happened in your lifetime where you go, there's a noticeable change?
Yeah, I mean, we bought our house on that interest rate. It was like 3%, and I was making a ton of
I mean, the objective math and the realities of the world demonstrate that one's better. I can't make up my mind, though.
money, and things were good. I was living the life, and now I'm not. So that
Right. So the one thing it sounds like that makes you a little bit hesitant is because of what you saw as social unrest under Donald Trump.
Yes, I just don't like the hatred and the anger, and
I just couldn't figure out who was doing it, or if I could. It was a brain fart after that. It was just confusing.
the lack for care.
I genuinely do not understand what happens in their prefrontal cortex. I genuinely, like, in terms of the thought process, it's there's something happening there that I think is like psychopathology. It has to be.
Yeah.
So,
I think definitely Trump's gonna overrule Texas for sure.
Who
yeah.
are you voting for?
I definitely would vote for Trump over Biden.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, if those were the only choices and we can't
Which
ride
they
in
are.
somebody like Taylor Swift, right? Then it would Trump,
Wait, what?
like Taylor Swift, right? Then it would probably lean more towards
Would you
Trump.
like to be president?
People aren't shying away from the fact that they're willing to vote for Trump because things have gotten so bad. And with the left being openly totalitarian, trying to put him in jail, and being as corrupt as they are visibly to everyone with a thinking brain, a lot of people are becoming unabashed in their support. You saw that on Twitter just 4 days ago.
My nose when I voted for him. He was an unknown. I would actually disagree with you since you're asking me on the idea of these protests. I mean, you look at it, Black Lives Matter. You look at what happened with Antifa. You look what's happening right now with the pro-Hamas protests. These are not, these, by the way, they're funded by either foreign entities or AstroTurf. And it's designed to make you think exactly what you think. Oh my gosh, if Trump gets in.
Exactly. They're literally psychological operations on women like this, and they're succeeding.
We'll have to deal with riots. And I don't think that really our democratic republic, our representative republic, should be subject to mob rule. You should never be.
Guys, if you don't realize this, they've known how to psychologically control populations, and they've studied this since the 60s. They've known how to do this since the 60s. And when I say they, I'm talking about governments. You think that that's far-fetched? Because it's not. You think that they're not employing the best psychologists in the world to tell them this information, to create formulas and models for how to control people's brains? It's only the people that are disagreeable, like myself, that are willing to resist this. I had every incentive to go along with the radical left. I went to elite institutions that were all very far left-leaning, could have been a part of their clubs, could have joined with them, eluded basically the earth and everyone, and gotten easy environments, lots of money for just going along with them. But it was wrong. As people like me, they can't control. But the general populace can wake up to the fact that they're being lied to. That's possible, and we know it's possible because it's literally happening right now.
Be afraid to vote because Trump didn't call people to commit those one acts of violence. I mean, that entire summer, right, where they're burning down cities.
Anyone.
Literally burning down cities.
But obviously, the general population is going to correlate that with Trump's.
the president,
Yeah, with the president.
They still, after he explained it to them, after he said, the left did this, they're still like, well, the general population can't conclude that he didn't do it. No, he literally was on the other side of that, confirming how effective these psychological operations are on the feminine psyche.
Well, but he was in office and I can't think for myself.
But it goes beyond just not being able to think for yourself. It's a failure of a level 1 logical pattern. It's like you can't go from A to B because going from A to B is considered oppressive. You just saw it right there.
Everybody will blame the president no matter what.
They've managed to convince women that logic and truth are discriminatory and oppressive, so that at every micro decision that is even subconscious, it's beyond the scope of even hyper-fixated analysis. They're making the wrong decisions on a micro level.
But also we haven't had that kind of hatred and riots since like his administration, minus the Palestine stuff.
Sure we have, yeah, that one's pretty bad. No, we had Black Lives Matter before he was coming in, right?
Burning down cities.
If you were to ask yourself who has not called for violence versus, Kamala Harris and Joe Biden saying they're not going to stop rioting in the streets, nor should they stop. They need to make their voices heard. I would disagree that I don't think that you're making anything heard by stealing from a Walgreens. And I don't think that has anything to do with Trump.
That's true.
I think it,
Right.
But that's just my opinion on it.
That's just my opinion. When you rob a Walgreens, it has nothing to do with Trump. But that's just my opinion. That's just, the thing called logic and rationality. But, I know that's kind of on equal or not quite equal playing field to, the psychological operations that have ravaged your brain. The ideology of the left is able to control people to this extent.
I think that's the biggest thing is the hatred
Yeah.
associated with that.
Do you think he hated anybody though, Donald Trump? Do
I
you
don't
think he
think
hates
so.
anybody?
I think that he's just a regular person that really wants to make big changes. But people are perceiving it in a different way. But I do agree with a lot of the things that he says. Like, if you're a girl, you're a girl. You're a boy, you're a boy. And I might get a lot of hate for that.
You will.
But that's
It's not real hate. It's deformed freak shows that are losing their minds at objective reality. There's two sects of population: those that can't stand reality and live every single day of their lives enraged as they're proven wrong and reminded that objective reality judges them brutally and ruthlessly for their wrongness, and those that accept reality.
they don't even want to identify a baby anymore.
Yeah.
Like, clearly you're born with a gender, whether you want to believe that's you or not. That's one thing that I know Trump's pretty strict about.
Yeah, you're going to have to vote Trump. You have Biden where he said he thought it was evil for parents to not affirm their children's gender transition. Like you said,
That's
it's
ridiculous. I don't think children have the mental capacity to make that decision.
Wow. I actually really enjoyed this conversation for a multitude of reasons.
What a crazy time. What a crazy time to be alive, bro. Seriously. I mean really. This is the thing. This is what men are dealing with. This affects how I have to plan my future. If you haven't already, subscribe to the channel, guys. Subscribe. If you've made it this far and you haven't subscribed, what are you literally doing with your life? Subscribe.